She stood right at my gate, arms crossed, eyes burning with anger. Before I could even step out of my truck, she yelled, "You can't touch that cabin! This is my son's inheritance!" Her voice echoed across the quiet countryside. I paused for a second, dust from the old road still settling around me. This land, this 150-year-old abandoned cabin, I bought it legally, paid every cent, signed every paper. But here she was, claiming it like I stole her family crown. The cabin stood behind me, broken windows, faded wood, roof half fallen, but it felt like history breathing. I had left my city job, spent all my savings, just to restore this forgotten place. But this woman, Karen, acted like I dug up her grandfather's grave. She grabbed a stack of papers from her bag and waved them in my face. "My family owned this land for generations. My son was supposed to get it. You're trespassing on what belongs to us." She said it with so much confidence that the two neighbors watching from their porches actually froze, waiting to see what I'd say. I didn't shout back. I just pulled out my own folder from the truck, calm and silent, and handed her the official deed. Her eyes scanned it, and for a moment her face went pale. Then she whispered, "No, this has to be fake." She looked up, anger replacing shock. "I'll get the HOA involved. I'll make sure you're thrown out before you touch one board." That was strange. This cabin was way outside any neighborhood. There was no HOA here. Before I could ask, her phone was already at her ear. "Yes, send someone, now! He's stealing my son's inheritance," she whispered dramatically. I could hear kids laughing from a distant farm and birds settling on the cabin roof, like the world didn't care about this chaos. But then Karen looked at me and said something that made the air freeze. "You should have never come here. You don't know who you're dealing with." I didn't respond. I just glanced at the cabin, its worn doors, cracked stone steps, and something inside me hardened. If she wanted a fight over what I built with my own hands, she had no idea what I was capable of. But I didn't know her secret either, and that's where everything started to go wrong. "This land isn't your family's past," I said quietly. A small smile tugged at her lips, but it wasn't friendly. It felt like the beginning of a storm. The next morning, I was lifting old floorboards inside the cabin when I heard tires screeching on gravel. I stepped outside, wiping dust from my hands, and saw a silver SUV pull up. 3 people got out, clipboards, badges, the whole official act. Karen followed behind them like she owned the place, chin high, smug smile glued to her face. "These are HOA officials," she announced loudly, like I should start trembling. "They're here to issue a violation notice. You can't renovate or live here without our approval." I stared at them for a second, then at the broken mailbox that clearly read, "County Road 7, no HOA jurisdiction." I took a slow breath. "There is no HOA here," I said calmly. "This land isn't part of any association." The man with the clipboard adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "Sir, Miss Marshall has reported unauthorized construction on heritage property. We have authority to inspect." Karen smirked, whispering to one of them, "Make sure you shut him down. My son deserves this land, not some outsider." That word, outsider, hit harder than I expected. But instead of arguing, I stepped aside. "Fine, look around, but you won't find anything illegal." They walked through the property, snapping pictures, whispering, pointing at rotten beams and broken walls like they were crimes. One of them scribbled on his paper and said to Karen, "There are historical restrictions. If he touches the foundation or original frame without a permit, he could face fines or forced removal." Karen's smile grew wider. But she didn't know something about me, something I hadn't told anyone here. I walked quietly to my truck, pulled out a sealed envelope, and handed it to the faux inspector. "You might want to read this before you write anything else," I said. He opened it, eyes widening. Karen snatched it from his hands and froze when she saw the state seal. It was a restoration permit issued directly by the State Historical Preservation Office, approved after months of paperwork, surveys, and legal checks. Signed and stamped by the state commissioner herself. Karen's jaw clenched. "How did you get that? This land was never—" "It was never yours," I said softly. For the first time, the fake officials looked unsure. One of them quietly folded their clipboard shut. We'll have to verify this." Karen stepped closer, voice low and cold. "You think this paper protects you? You don't know what you've started." I looked at her, steady. "Neither do you." As they drove away, I noticed something unsettling. Karen wasn't calling her lawyer. She was calling someone else. Someone who answered with, "Yes, I'll handle it." And that was the moment I knew this fight wasn't about land anymore. It was about power. And she wasn't planning to lose. 2 days passed quietly, almost too quietly. No visitors, no shouting, no fake officials. I kept working on the cabin, replacing cracked beams, brushing away years of dust. For a moment, it felt peaceful, until the hammer slipped from my hand at the sound of engines again. I stepped outside, and this time, there wasn't just a car. There were 2 black trucks parked at the edge of my property. 4 men in work uniforms stepped out. No badges, no greetings, just hard stares. Behind them, Karen stood with her arms folded, sunglasses on, like she brought her own private army. One of the men walked toward me and said, "You need to stop construction, now. We're here to secure the property for the rightful owners." I almost laughed. Rightful owners? I bought this land. I have permits. Who are you? He leaned in, voice low. "People who don't care about your paperwork." Karen's voice cut through the silence. "My great-grandfather built this place. My son will own it next. You can leave peacefully or be removed." She thought I'd back down. Instead, I pulled out my phone, tapped a contact, and held it to my ear. The man stepped closer, like he was ready to grab it from me, but then he stopped. Because on the other end, a calm voice answered, "Sheriff's Department, this is Deputy Miller." I didn't take my eyes off Karen. "Hey, Deputy, I've got unauthorized men trespassing, claiming ownership. Want me to send you the video?" There was a pause. "Stay where you are, we're on our way." Karen's smirk vanished for a second. "You called the police on me?" I shrugged. "On trespassers." The men hesitated, but didn't leave. They stood their ground, waiting, confident. Too confident, like they knew something I didn't. Within minutes, a county patrol car pulled up. Deputy Miller stepped out, hand resting near his belt. He'd seen me before at the county office when I filed restoration plans. He walked straight to me. "You okay?" "Fine," I said. "Just don't know why I keep getting visitors." Karen jumped in. "Officer, arrest him! He stole my family land!" Miller turned to her, expression flat. "Ma'am, this land is legally his. I've seen the deed myself." She blinked, stunned, then pointed at the men. "They're here to protect what's ours." One of the men spoke up, but his tone was different now. Polite, almost rehearsed. "We're contracted security. We're just here under Mrs. Marshall's request to ensure no historical property is damaged." Deputy Miller's eyes narrowed. "Security? Do you have authorization from the county to operate out here?" Silence. Karen's jaw tightened. She whispered, "You don't understand. This land carries more than papers. It carries legacy." Deputy Miller leaned closer to me and spoke quietly. "Be careful. They're not just neighbors. Someone's backing them." He walked away, warning them to leave or face charges. They left slowly, but not defeated. As their trucks disappeared down the road, I noticed Karen still standing there, staring at the cabin like she was looking at a grave. She said just one thing before leaving. "You think permits and police will save you? This land was never meant for outsiders. You'll see why soon." And the way she said it, it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a promise from something much older than her. That night, the wind was sharp, rattling loose boards and whispering through broken window frames. The cabin felt heavier, like the walls were holding their breath. I stayed late, oil lamp on the old wooden table, studying renovation plans. Around midnight, I heard gravel crunching outside. My stomach tightened. No engines, no headlights, just slow footsteps. I stepped onto the porch with my flashlight. The beam caught a tall figure near the fence line. He wasn't one of the security guys. No uniform, no badge. Just an older man in a worn jacket, hat pulled low. He raised a hand like he meant no harm. "Don't be scared," he said quietly. "Name's Walter. I used to take care of this land, before everything went wrong." I didn't lower the flashlight. "You with Karen?" He shook his head. "Her family owned the cabin once, yes, but not for decades, and she's not telling you the whole story." His voice was tired, like he carried the weight of buried years. He walked closer, stopping just outside the porch. "She thinks her son deserves this land because her great-grandfather built the cabin. But what she don't mention is, her family lost it, legally. They gambled it away. Town records prove it." I frowned. "Then why is she acting like it still belongs to her?" Walter sighed. "Pride and something else. See, Karen's father was obsessed with getting this land back. He told her it was promised to their bloodline. He went broke trying, died angry." He looked up at the dark cabin. "Now she's trying to finish what he started. Doesn't care who gets hurt." I finally lowered the flashlight. "Then why warn me?" He hesitated. "Because she's not working alone anymore. The people she's calling, they're not family. They're investors, old money types. They don't want the cabin, they want what's under it." My heart skipped. "What's under it?" Walter stepped closer, voice lowering. "There's a basement, sealed up long before your time. Some say it holds old documents, gold coins. Others say it holds something darker. The town covered it up after a fire in 1923. His eyes met mine. "Whatever it is, they want it. And they'll do more than send fake HOA letters next time." Thunder rumbled far off, like the sky agreed. Before I could ask more, headlights flashed through the trees. Walter stepped back into the shadows. "Don't tell them I was here," he whispered. "And don't go into that basement alone." Then he disappeared into the dark. One truck rolled up the path. Karen stepped out holding a lantern this time, not a phone. Rain began to fall in cold drops. She looked at me, almost smiling. "Still here? Good. It's time you see what you're really standing on." Her voice wasn't angry tonight. It was calm. Too calm. And that was more terrifying than any threat so far. Rain poured harder as Karen walked closer, her boots sinking into the wet earth. She didn't yell, didn't wave papers. She just stared at the cabin like she was staring at a memory. "This place isn't just wood and stone," she said softly. "My great-grandfather built it, yes, but he also hid something inside, something my family swore to protect." Her voice didn't shake, but her hands did. I kept my distance. If that's true, why threaten me? Why fake HOA rules, hire men, call cops? She looked up, rain glistening on her face. "Because you were never supposed to own it. You weren't chosen." That word, chosen, made something cold twist inside me. She walked past me, touched the cabin door with her fingers, almost gently. "There's a basement beneath this floor. My father searched for it until the day he died. Said the one who opens it either brings back the legacy or destroys it." I followed her inside, the storm wind pushing at the door as it shut behind us. The cabin was dim, only the weak glow of her lantern and my flashlight flickering across the dust-filled air. Karen pointed to the old stone fireplace. "It's behind here. He sealed it when the fire happened, 1923. No one ever opened it again." I was about to speak when a deep voice echoed from behind us. "That's enough, Karen." We both turned. Standing in the doorway was a tall man in a dark coat, water dripping from his hat. His presence was heavy, calm, but dangerous. Karen's face paled. "Dad, what are you doing here?" He stepped inside, shutting the door. His eyes didn't leave me. "Stopping you before you go too far." I realized then, this was Karen's father, the man Walter said was dead. But he wasn't dead. He was very much alive and hiding. Karen shook her head, voice trembling now. "No, you don't get to stop this. You promised this land would stay ours." He looked tired, older than he should have been. "I promised to protect it, not start a war over it." He moved towards the fireplace and brushed away soot from the stones. Under the grime, I caught a glimpse of metal, a lock mechanism built into the rock. My heart raced. It was real. But before anyone could speak, someone banged loudly on the front door. A harsh voice shouted, "County Sheriff, open up!" Karen's father froze. "You called the sheriff?" he whispered. "I didn't, but someone did." Karen looked at me, almost accusing. "You think they'll believe you? You think a paper and a badge can protect you from what's buried here?" Her father turned to her, voice firm. "If this door opens tonight, none of us are safe." The pounding on the door got louder. "Open up, now!" I didn't know who to trust, Karen, her father, or the law on the other side of the door. All I knew was one thing. Whatever was behind that fireplace had just become more dangerous than any HOA drama. The door shook again under the sheriff's fist. Rain hammered the roof, thunder trailing close behind. My pulse thudded in my ears. Karen stood rigid, her breathing sharp, while her father stepped away from the fireplace, eyes tense. I opened the front door a crack. Deputy Miller stood outside, soaked, serious, but he wasn't alone. Two other deputies flanked him, hands near their holsters. Behind them, red and blue lights flashed against the wet trees. "We got a call," Miller said. "Claims of trespassing, possible forced entry, and something buried here?" Before I could answer, Karen's father stepped beside me. "Deputy, this is a misunderstanding. We're handling a family matter. You don't need to be here." Miller's eyes narrowed. "Sir, your name?" He hesitated. Rain dripped from his coat onto the wooden floor. "James Marshall." Miller stiffened. "That's impossible. James Marshall died 15 years ago." Silence. Karen looked down. My jaw tightened. James sighed, voice low. "The report was filed to protect my family from creditors. I left town. But I'm here now because this land is waking up old problems." Deputy Miller glanced at me, confused but alert. "Whether he's dead or alive, this isn't a private issue anymore. Step aside, all of you." Karen whispered sharply, "Don't let them in. If they open that basement, it doesn't just expose history, it exposes us." But Miller had already stepped inside, flashlight scanning the room. When his light hit the metal lock behind the fireplace, he paused. "What is that?" Karen's father closed his eyes. "It's a vault, built in 1874. It holds documents, property deeds, and—" Karen cut him off. "Gold. It holds gold. And maps, the kind that changes everything in this town." My breath caught. Gold? Maps? That's why people were showing up. That's why she wouldn't let go. Deputy Miller turned to me. "You knew about this?" I shook my head. "I just wanted to restore the cabin." Miller raised his radio. "Dispatch, I need—" Before he could finish, the lights flickered. Then, darkness. The storm killed the power. A loud metallic click echoed behind us. The fireplace shifted, just slightly, like something inside had been triggered. Karen stepped back, eyes wide. "You opened it." But none of us had. A cold draft blew through the room from beneath the floorboards, carrying a smell of earth and something older. Deputy Miller whispered, "Everyone out, now." James Marshall shook his head slowly. "It's too late. Once it moves, it doesn't close again." Lightning flashed through the cabin windows, white and violent. And then, from deep beneath the floor, we heard it. A single, slow creak, like a heavy door opening underground. Not from this world, but from the one history tried to bury. And nobody moved. For a few long seconds, no one breathed. The sound from beneath the cabin, deep, slow, like an iron hinge waking after a century, echoed through the floorboards. Rain hammered the roof, but inside, it was silent, except for that noise. Deputy Miller aimed his flashlight at the floor, his voice low and tense. "Everyone stay back." Karen's hands were trembling now, her earlier confidence gone. Her father, James, took a cautious step toward the fireplace. If that door opened, it means the seal has broken. We don't know what condition it's in down there. Miller raised a hand. "Sir, step away. This is a crime scene now." James turned to him, tired and serious. "A crime scene? This is bigger than that. There are things under this cabin the town agreed never to dig up again." His voice softened, not because of treasure, but because of what happened to the last men who tried. Lightning lit up the entire room for a second, and I saw Karen's face, pale, almost scared. She spoke to me quietly, not to the officers. "My father told me the story when I was young. 6 men went into that basement in 1923. Only one came back. He never spoke again, just kept drawing maps of tunnels no one could read." Deputy Miller didn't look convinced, but I could see his grip tightening around his flashlight. "I don't deal in legends, I deal in facts." He motioned to one of the deputies. "Check the floor, see if there's an entry point." The younger deputy stepped toward the fireplace, boots scraping against old wood. He crouched, pushing against the stone base. It shifted, more this time. A breath of cold air hissed upward. He looked back. "There's a latch. Should I?" "No!" Karen and James shouted at the same time. But it was too late. The stone groaned, sliding open just an inch, just enough to see darkness below, and the top rung of a rusted iron ladder. The deputy leaned closer with his flashlight, but then jerked back sharply, like he'd touched something hot. Something moved. Down there. The beam of his flashlight shook as he tried to aim it into the gap. All we saw was wet stone, rotting wood, and a black shape shifting just out of sight. Deputy Miller swallowed hard. "We're sealing this place off, now. No one goes in or out until the county inspects this." James closed his eyes, whispering, "County won't touch it. They never did before, and they won't now." Just then, headlights flashed across the windows. Another vehicle pulled up, a black sedan. Doors opened. Out stepped a man in a dark suit, clean, dry, calm, even in the storm. Karen stiffened. "You called them?" Her father shook his head. "No, they came on their own." The suited man walked in like he owned the ground. No badge, no greeting. He looked straight at the open stone behind the fireplace and smiled faintly. "Good," he said. "You found it." Deputy Miller stepped forward. "Who are you?" The man slipped a card into his hand. Miller read it, and his face changed, like all the color had drained out. He didn't say the name aloud. But I saw the logo. State Treasury Department, Historical Asset Recovery Division. The man looked at me, then at the open stone door, and said calmly, "Nobody leaves. This is now a federal site." And just like that, my cabin, my land, my future wasn't mine anymore. The storm raged outside, but the real pressure was inside the cabin. The man from the state treasury didn't bother wiping the rain from his shoulders. He walked straight to the fireplace like he'd been waiting decades for this. Deputy Miller stood frozen, his jaw tight. Whatever was written on that card, it shut him up instantly. Karen looked from the suited man to her father. "You told me this was our family's legacy. You never said the government was involved." James didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on the small opening under the fireplace, the faint breath of cold air still rising from it. Because they weren't supposed to know, until someone started making too much noise. His gaze shifted to me, tired, sad. "This isn't your fault. You just stepped into a story that was never yours to carry." The suited man glanced at me next, his voice smooth but empty. "You purchased land, not what's underneath it. Everything found below falls under federal historical protection. You will be compensated fairly." I felt something hot rise in my chest. Anger. I spent everything restoring this place. I didn't steal anything. I followed the law. He looked at me the way someone looks at a chair, unimportant. The law doesn't change the past. Karen stepped forward. "This is my family's land, our legacy. You can't take it." The man turned to her, calm. "Your family lost claim to this property in 1954. Gambling debts, signed away, buried deep in county records." His eyes narrowed slightly. "But your father knew that, didn't he?" James finally spoke, voice breaking. "I was trying to get it back, the right way, before they came." His hands clenched. "Before you people came." Deputy Miller looked between them all, then shook his head. "So what now? You just take over? Shut it all down?" The man didn't blink. "No, we open it." He turned to his team. 2 agents stepping in from the storm, carrying sealed cases and flood lamps. "Secure the area, prepare entry." Karen moved toward the stone opening, like she was about to block it. I instinctively reached out to stop her. She looked at me, eyes red, voice small. "They're going to take everything. My father's life, my grandfather's promise, everything." I whispered back, "You can't fight them like this." She pulled her arm away. "Watch me." Before she could take another step, James grabbed her shoulders. "Enough. This ends here. No more chasing ghosts. No more ruining people's lives." She stared at him, hurt, betrayed. "You lied about dying. You lied about the land. What else did you lie about?" His voice dropped, almost too quiet. "About what's buried under here. It's not gold. It's not treasure." The suited man paused. "Then what is it?" James looked at all of us, the deputies, the federal agents, his daughter, me. "It's a list," he said. "Names. People who took bribes during the town fire of 1923. People who let that fire happen. Judges, sheriffs, bank owners, their signatures, their deals, all sealed in that vault to protect them." Deputy Miller's face darkened. The suited man's smile faded. "And if those documents come out," James continued, "this town's history, this state's history, changes forever." Silence fell like the rain outside had stopped. Miller breathed out slowly. "So it was never about inheritance." Karen whispered, hollow. "Then why did you make me believe it was?" James's voice broke. "Because legacy sounds prettier than corruption." The federal agent's voice cut through the silence. "We're opening it anyway. Truth doesn't scare us." But the way he said it, his eyes said the opposite. As floodlights powered on and tools were laid out, I stepped back, looking at the cabin one more time, the place I thought would be my peace. Now it was a battlefield between past and truth. Karen whispered beside me, "What happens when they open it?" I looked at the stone, slowly shifting under government hands, and said quietly, "Everything buried comes back." And outside, the storm finally stopped, like the sky was waiting to see what we'd uncover.